welcome back to the DGD podcast. As always, Robert Reynolds, Kobe Pierce, and the GOAT, Juan Daniels. Guys, a lot to talk about. We got a lot to take in today. I think the main question here, and we want to talk about this, will Jalen Carter be taken first overall in this upcoming draft? We're going to talk about save it for later. Save it for later. I promise. We're going to get into this. Couple things first, though, before we get started on that, I do want to break out some interesting notes here. It appears Alabama has found their defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, for that matter, but specifically defensive coordinator, and it was not Glenn Schumann. So it might appear for now Glenn Schumann is staying at Georgia, which is pretty telling right there, right? And also, right, we're waiting to hear back from Todd Monken. He's taken a couple NFL interviews. No word yet, but it appears as of right now that you have both of your offensive and defensive coordinators sticking around. First off, I want to get your quick thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on the fact that Bama missed out, or Bama did not get Schumann? I think that's important for Georgia. Would y'all say?
You want to go first, Juan, or you want me to?
I'll let you go.
I mean, I would say it's very important in the fact that it would be more telling to me that he was unhappy with something occurring here if he left. All these Bama fans, all these people talking, they're like, oh, Glenn Schumann's going to be the next defensive coordinator at the University of Alabama. It's like he's the defensive coordinator at the University of Georgia, like back-to-back reigning national champions. It's not a step up anymore to be the DC at Alabama from the DC at Georgia. And people are like, oh, well, he could come here and he wouldn't have to be co-defensive coordinator. And it's like, he's co-defensive coordinator here, but he's the co-defensive coordinator in charge. And don't think that Kevin Steele over at Alabama won't also probably eventually be named or have a co-defensive coordinator named. There's just so much that goes into preparation throughout the week, who you have sitting in the booth, who's helping you. Are you the one in the booth and you have somebody signaling on the field or vice versa? I think that Glenn Schumann, the only thing he's leaving for is a head coaching job at this point. I think that this really secured that fact even more.
He also secured a fat raise coming up. I guarantee that.
Yeah. I agree with Kobe. I mean, it's more of a lateral move than it is anything else. And why would you go to take a lateral move at an inferior program? And you sit there and take a look at what Dan Lanning was able to do to go to Oregon and really make them relevant, and really make them have an opportunity to contend or at least go after a Pac-12 championship. And so again, his next step is going to be a head coaching job, and it's not going to be at a small school. It's going to be a big time program, and that's basically what he's shooting for.
I mean, and he has. I mean, and there's no reason to believe that he won't either. Like, you look at Todd Monken, right? Todd Monken, we expect to go NFL or stay at Georgia, right? You look at, Glenn Schumann. There's no reason for him to make a lateral move at this point, considering you have back-to-back national titles and you've recruited at a level in which I don't even think Georgia has seen at this point in years past. Like, I don't think we've ever been as deep as, look at like linebacker and right. Like it's just stupid how deep you are in a lot of positions. So to be a part of something like that, it would listen, not knocking necessarily what Bama picked up in regards to Kevin Steele, but I'll have a comment on that. But when you've won back-to-back national titles, that a spot's going to come open, whether it be next year or the year after. You're not having to feel obligated to move for no reason. I mean, look, think about Lanning. Lanning goes and gets offered the Kansas job, obviously turns it down. Next year comes open, boom, Oregon, right? Like you said. Like, there's no reason for him to – like, he can take a huge job when it comes open.
And I think that's a big thing that people need to realize, and I think sometimes your fans on Twitter and different people fail to realize is Lanning, like, Smart was offered jobs while he was DC, and he turned a lot down until he got the job here at Georgia. Lanning was so close. Like, y'all don't even understand how close he was to taking that Kansas job. Like, he was all but bags packed, flight booked. And then and then Kirby finally got hold of him and was like, listen, Dan, like, you are a more talented coach than the next head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks. Like, if you will give it one more year, you're going to get a job that you can sustain at and not try to rebuild and by some miracle, make Kansas relevant as a stepping stone. And I think that's the big thing. Schumann, I think you learn from the people before you, and you learn to not make any mistakes like people did. I mean, you have Muschamp, who was a DC and then took a big job. His first job was a big job at Florida. You have Kirby, who's done the same. You now have Lanning, who's done the same. And I think Schumann's in line for kind of that next, straight from DC, straight to a major Power 5 school.
And it doesn't have to be a stepping stone. I mean, Kansas is a stepping stone school. Let's be honest. I don't think there's a coach in America that says, man, I would love to land that Kansas job and then just, make that my home. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So for Schumann, but I mean, and look at it too. I mean, he's got a great situation. Either way, he's going to be fine. But again, staying at Georgia, you're on the brink of something special, being a three-time, three-peat national champion. Why not? And then of course, what does your marketability look like after having 3 national championships?
If that happens, it's stupid. Yeah. Ultimately, right? I think
you may not keep a coach on staff if you go 3-peat.
Yeah,
you may flush the whole thing.
The GAs, equipment managers. I mean, they may be gone.
I mean, hell, sign me up. Anyways,
I'll deal with those repercussions when they get here.
Yeah,
I mean, Kobe Pierce might actually go on and coach the long snappers. I don't think you'd be opposed to that, would you? Let's transition over.
Yeah, we have snapping right now, so we're good.
Oh, okay. Let's transition over to though, right? We started off talking about the main question of the day, right? Chicago Bears hold the number 1 pick overall. Now, there's a lot of quarterback teams, needy teams that could trade up into, into that number 1 spot. How possible? And Kobe, I think you're a Bears fan, so this is going to hit right in the feels for you. What's the odds, or what are the chances that you think the Bears stay put and draft number 1 overall? And if so, right, since you're a Bears fan, do you think it's because there's an argument best defensive player, right? Could they draft Jalen Carter? Could they draft Will Anderson? And both guys have the reason to believe that they could be number 1 overall if a quarterback needy team doesn't do so. But do you think that the Bears stay put at number 1? And if so, do they draft Jalen or do they draft Will?
I think right now it is like probably less than a 5% chance that the Bears stay put at 1. As a Georgia fan, I'd love to see Jalen go 1. Back-to-back number 1 overall picks would just be amazing, especially both from the defensive side of the ball. But just knowing like the Bears and what they have and what they kind of need, like, yeah, I could see them taking a defensive player. But I think the problem is in any trade back scenario right now, the worst you're picking is at 4. And so then at that point, it's like, well, if you're talking about one of those picks is probably going to be Bryce Young, one of those picks is probably going to be another quarterback, then you still eventually will either have Will Anderson or Jalen Carter fall to you. I think that will be more how they do it. I think they'll, trade number 1 overall, trade back, trade for some more picks, possibly falling again in the first round or in the second round. And then take whoever's kind of left at like 4.
If I'm not mistaken, though, the Bears, I thought they already put an asking price for that number 1 pick. If I'm not mistaken, I thought it was pretty hefty, but I may be wrong.
Rumors here and there. I mean, there were rumors swirling that they were going to trade Justin Fields in a package and take
I can't see that happening.
1 overall. I mean, it's too early to really know what. After pro day, after combine, you'll get a much better idea of like what it's looking like. Jalen goes out there and kills pro day, kills combine. your GM might go, hey, this future Hall of Famer, like we can't pass that up. But
Yeah.
I think right now with the needs, they're more plentiful than kind of like Jacksonville, who really just needed some good defenders. They didn't really need a bunch of good skill positions. Like the Bears are in dire need of some running backs, some receivers, some offensive linemen, and then we'll kind of piece together a defense, I feel like, after that.
Yeah. Juan, do you think, basically taking, Kobe's information and insight here, like, do you feel confident or how confident do you feel that Jalen Carter could maybe not be the first overall, right? Now that we've heard Kobe in there, what it sounds like they might be actually moving that number 1 pick. If things stay the same, the Cardinals would probably be the first team to not have a need for quarterback if they stay put. But could Jalen Carter be the first defensive player taken off the board? Or would you think?
I think he could. I do believe – I honestly think that it's going to be the Indianapolis Colts that are going to pretty much sell their entire program to get that number 1 because they are in desperate need of a quarterback, whether that be C.J. Stroud, whether it be Bryce Young. But I'll tell you what, in years past, before these championships and before you could see what Georgia could do, Will Anderson would be an easy first pick. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But because of the success that Jordan Davis has had and the success that the Georgia defensive players have had. And there's a couple of games, via a la Tennessee, where you saw Will Anderson kind of disappear a little bit, and so, now they're looking at that toughness, that physicality, and they're looking at, at Carter to be that guy. So I see them taking Jalen first over Robinson easily. No questions.
See, my question my thing is, the NFL seems to be one of these leagues now that they're all about pass rushing, getting to the quarterback. But I think what separates the two, right? Will Anderson is an elite pass rusher, right? But if you go back to his time in Alabama, you look at Pete Golding and he had him in coverage, and he wasn't comfortable and looked somewhat out of place. Yeah, but then you look at the situation where Jalen Carter, right, just dominates up front, just super quick off the ball, disruptive in the interior. I think ultimately the question, comes down to, like, for instance, if it's the Cardinals at 3, right, do they need somebody disruptive in the interior or do they need another body on the edge?
J.J. Watt just retired.
Yeah, J.J. Watt retired. Now they need a pass rusher too. So, there is a legitimate concern, or for pass rushing for Cardinals, but Jalen Carter can do that from the inside as well. Now, I think he's more suited for the run game, definitely, because he can just be athletic and just outmaneuver guys with that first step. It's also different in the NFL. I completely understand. It's a whole different level. But ultimately, I think he has a good shot. I don't think there wouldn't be a reason for that, but it would also not shock me if Will Anderson goes, just due to the fact that, right, the value for a pass rusher that high. You know what I mean? Especially, like you said, Watt retiring, right? Like, how is that going to impact that?
And it's still just all depends. You're so far from draft day. It's hard to call it. I mean, on pure talent alone, I think, Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, you're getting a guy that's gonna, solidify your defense for the next 5 to 8 years. At that point, you're just picking, like you're saying, do I need a outside linebacker, defensive end, or do I need a 3 technique, Aaron Donald type player, or, am I the Colts and I'm going to have to take a chance on a quarterback somewhere along, life's way. It'll be interesting. I've seen things lately, rumors swirling that the Titans may be interested in trading up into the top 5 as well for a quarterback. So,
didn't they just draft Malik Willis?
The NFL. You're great. You're great until you're not, and then it's on to the next.
I guess to that point, though, the quarterback class last year was absolute doo doo. Like there was a reason Kenny Pickett went 20th, and then it was a 3rd round pick between the next quarterback selection. So I guess in that sense, it wouldn't make be too far fetched. Considering and depending on how things go, right? And how, quarterback run to start off, right? Like there's several teams that need them, right? Because you start now. Listen, and this is another thing. And Juan, I know you're about to hate this, but what we just saw this past season, if you're watching the playoffs, the 49ers went through 4 quarterbacks in one season and was about to use Christian McCaffrey as a quarterback. With that being said, there should be no excuse not for one team to look at Stetson Bennett and draft him, due to the fact that you can never have enough quality depth. You just can't. Now, I know I saw that face, Juan. I saw it. But listen, Brock Purdy just proved the point that listen, if he was mystery relevant and you take a shot on that, there's at least not a reason to give Stetson a shot. You saw what he did in college. Now, does that transfer over? Obviously, TBD.
If you were to say, if anybody were to say that Stetson was the caliber of an Aaron Murray, a Jake Fromm, Eric Zaire, and all these other guys, I would honestly have to question your sanity. And he's not as good as those guys. And they did not do a whole lot in the NFL. Even DJ Shockley, DJ Shockley is head and shoulders better than he is. So for him to go out there and be successful in the NFL, it's just not going to happen. And please bookmark this right here. I mean, you heard it here first. I called 2 national championships. I've called a 3-peat. Stetson Bennett will not play in the NFL.
Not even as a backup?
Not even as a backup.
So you're saying he won't make it as a backup or practice squad?
No.
Kobe, I feel a bet coming. Me and Juan about to make a bet on this.
Let's do it. Canadian League, maybe.
USFL. I was going to argue with Juan that I think he might be better than Fromm. That'd be.
Reading wise,
I'll play with both of them. I'll play with both.
I know you did, but
I'll tell you this. I think his arm strength and his ability to read a defense.
Yeah,
his arm strength's better, and his ability to read a defense is the same, if not better.
I'll tell you this.
And his mobility is way better.
As a former player in all areas, anytime your coach rips your ass after a game and says that you need to play within the system, you are not that great of a quarterback. So if you go back to the Alabamas of the, who were those Alabama quarterbacks that had to play within the system? They were not very good in the pros. Until you get to those other guys, they're just not. So he is a system guy, and you get ripped on national television to say you need to play within the system and do what you're coached to do. Those are not your elite quarterbacks.
I'm just going to say it right here, Kobe. I just want to let something be known.
I'm not debating that part. I'm more saying that if people saw 5th round value in Jake Fromm, then I have to believe someone will at least see 1 to 7th round value, 4, 5 to 7 round value in Stetson. I mean, I'm not saying you're right. He may not make the 53 man. He may, get cut after a couple weeks on P squad, but I don't believe that he will just go clean through undrafted.
I'll tell you this. Let's make a bet. We're gonna let the brigade decide, Juan. So what that means is I'm calling Stetson to get drafted. Juan, you don't think he gets drafted?
I don't think he gets drafted.
With that being said, if you're up for a bet, I'm up for a bet.
I'm up for it.
We're gonna let the brigade decide what bet. So drop us in the comments. Drop it in the comments. Let us know the bet stipulation. Because it's set. Me and Juan's got this. I think Stetson will get drafted. Juan does not think so. The bane of his existence will not get drafted. Let's hear that. All right, we need y'all's inputs. Drop it in the chat, brigade. Let's go. Let's get this thing going. And if we see something good, we might make it live. All right. But we're going to read some comments. How about that? We've been talking. We have not shown love to the brigade, so let's do that. Floyd Donnelly, welcome to the brigade. It's our first time name that I've seen. Saying that Carter will not go number 1. I think it could be interesting. Like I said, obviously, we talked about the quarterbacks in this class. Listen, there's some good quarterbacks in this class. And Pat agrees with this as well. Listen, I think it'd be nice to see him and have back-to-back number 1s, but I also understand that quarterbacks drive this league. Quarterbacks drive the NFL. So regardless, I think there's a possibility that if Chicago stays, he's gone, number 1. But the question is, at this point, the main question is, do they stay? And considering the holes that Chicago has, I think if they get the right offer and get multiple picks, lots of picks, fill those holes like that. Let's see here. I saw something earlier here. Kobe mentioned to Joel, did she have a good cup of coffee? And she said, yes, she did. So good, which is time to drop that plug. All right. The show is brought to you by Apotheos Roastery. 30 years of experience based out of Kennesaw, and also the official coffee and cold brew partner of the Classic City Collective. Whenever you follow them on Instagram at Apotheos Roastery, follow them on Twitter at Apotheos Coffee. Go to our link, dgdpodcast.com/Apotheos. Shop their collection, and whichever, like if you get 3 bags of coffee, 20% of each bag will go straight to the Classic City Collective. Make sure to give them a follow and a shout out as well. Let them know we sent you there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full.
I'm telling you right now, man, you can't. I haven't found a bad bag of coffee. That's just me, though. Let's see here. I think we're already seeing some bets dropping in. This will be interesting. All right, so Pat says if Rob wins, Juan has to wear a high top box fade. Oh no. Can he grow the hair is the question. Robert shaves his head and Juan wears a wig. We need to get you get them Jerry curls.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Oh no. Let's see. Christian Gonzalez. So Christian Gonzalez will be that's the Oregon cornerback. I don't think you're talking about number 1 overall, Floyd. Let me know. Kobe says that Juan wins and Robert has to put on a UF shirt for a show. If Robert wins, Juan wears a Stetson jersey for a show.
Yeah, I'm going to get an old T-shirt, like an old dingy T-shirt that I wiped the lawnmower blade with and then put a 13 on there.
You know what? Here's no. We're going to get you hooked up. We're going to get you hooked up for that. Listen, I guess if we did do that, I could just reach out to Adonis and get a Florida shirt, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I got to wear the
I'll just fly Adonis to my house and then have him actually sit next to me.
Do I wear the George?
Patrick said that you should have to wear an Auburn shirt, and if that ends up happening, you can just ask Juan to borrow.
Well, he wore an Auburn shirt the last podcast.
That is true. Your salmon shirt. You got it. You got it.
Whatever.
I need y'all to cut that shit out now. Stop playing.
Salmon? Auburn.
He always talks about he hates Auburn, and he's sitting there just sporting it.
Just chilling. Under Armour and everything.
You take that back.
Salmon.
You take that back.
Take that back.
Y'all see it in person, you'd be different. So Floyd was talking about Christian Gonzalez, and he said at 8. That's to the Falcons, if I'm not mistaken. That'd be interesting. Yeah, Pat's over here laughing. I'm telling him to calm down too. But no, obviously keep dropping these bet ideas. I think they're interesting to hear. But yeah, no, I think let's move on though, right? Let's do a quick talk about something. I want to talk about the NFL, obviously the NFL draft and the NFL combine more so than anything. And obviously we've got a lot of guys coming in preparing for the combine. But let's do a quick rundown of this past weekend. If you didn't know, they had a Shrine Bowl and they had the Reese Senior Bowl. If you look at the Shrine Bowl, you had Robert Beal and Kearis Jackson. If you watched the Reese Senior Bowl, you had Kenny McIntosh, Chris Smith, Jack Podlesny, and who else was it? I'm missing somebody. Who was it? Can somebody help me out?
You said Chris Smith.
Kenny McIntosh. Oh, Warren McClendon. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Warren McClendon. That's it. Listen, you didn't miss much, unfortunately, because if you watch the Shrine Bowl, I don't think there was a single statistic recorded from either one of the guys. And the Reese Senior Bowl was highlighted by a horrible quarterback play, in my opinion. It was bad.
Yeah,
there's really not much.
National championship hangover. I mean, he continued that trash play that he was doing in the national championship. I
mean, the one thing I will say though is the Senior Bowl practices, though, right, leading up to the game. If you were keeping up with that, Warren McClendon had a really good week of practice there. Kenny McIntosh had really good flashes of receiving out of the backfield and pass pro. So it looked like the guys, in practice time, right, really stood out. But when it came to the game, it was just horrible to watch. It was unwatchable.
I think the big thing is at the Senior Bowl especially. I don't know about the Shrine Bowl. I didn't keep up with it quite as much. But where your money is made is a first chance to have official measurements taken, and it's a week full of good quality practice reps. The game's here nor there, but I mean, you talk about like the tackle from Ohio State and how much money he probably made this week going to the Senior Bowl, measuring out at 89.5-inch, wingspan, winning some good reps against some good, competition. I mean, he's going to be one of those guys that people say, he's probably a late second round pick. And he's going to start climbing up some boards, be, middle first round pick if he has a decent showing at a pro day. He benches 225 a couple good times and it shows some athletic ability.
Yeah.
What you laughing at, Juan?
Nothing, man.
Oh no.
Nothing
I was interested though, right? I think that's like you said though, Kobe. That's a really good point. Is NFL scouts are obviously looking at this and they look at those first measurables, the measurements, things like that. Like for instance, Stetson rejected the bowl, right? You've seen a lot of the elite quarterbacks, so didn't go to the Senior Bowl though. Like I think Max Duggan was one of the most high-profile quarterbacks there. What's up, Juan?
You said you saw a lot of elite quarterbacks rejected the bowl?
I'm talking you didn't see Bryce Young there, didn't see C.J. Stroud there. Like
neither one of those guys are seniors.
You're right. I thought that was – sorry, my bad. I was thinking the Sean Bowl.
Okay.
My bad. No, ultimately, though.
I just heard crashing glass in the background and screeching tires. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah.
What is Kobe laughing at now? Oh, boy.
Just him going, the juniors over?
Copy that.
Over.
Over. And the other one was Will Levis, and he's being overhyped. So,
yeah.
Oof.
This is true.
Yeah. Welcome to Monday.
There's always one. You can go back. Mitch
Trubisky.
Anthony Richardson might be on up there this year too. I've seen some.
It's shocking. I am completely shocked that they have him as a first round guy.
I'd take Stetson over Anthony Richardson.
Top 10 pick. Not even like
there's projections of him going to the Panthers at 9.
Lamar.
Either that or they'll probably pick him up at Baltimore because there's no way that Lamar Jackson's staying in Baltimore after what would happen over the
Well, that explains Todd Monken not going to Baltimore if that's the case.
Yeah.
That's not official. That's not official.
Nah, listen, if their draft plan is to draft Anthony Richardson, Todd Monken knows good quarterbacks, and that ain't one of them.
It's just interesting because, like, when you're talking about, like, Lamar Jackson didn't go until, 32? And he went dead last in that draft. Anthony Richardson's worth the 9th overall pick?
No.
I just didn't see it. I just did not see it at all.
Juan, if Will Levis and Anthony Richardson go in the first round, I feel confident in my bet. Stetson's going to get drafted. I'm just saying.
Listen, if you took Levis at 28, 29, I'd be willing to take that in the first round. And he's got the frame, the arm strength, stuff like that. But you're talking about these guys, when there are 8, 9 picks taken, you're talking about there are projections that all 4 of these guys are gone already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at it, the only upside that he has is just being in that pro system at Kentucky. That's it. Other than that, he did not perform well.
You saw what happened against Georgia, man. He couldn't really do much.
Yeah, when it counted.
He made a couple big plays, but that was it. It was just rough, Yeah. But no, I mean, obviously, like I said, we talk about looking at both bowl games are just boring to me. I mean, McClendon didn't even participate in the game itself. Like I said, the practices is what you probably look at. And ultimately, like I said, the guys fared well in their practices, but the games, it was just rough. But I guess it's a perfect time to transition over to the combine preparation, things like that. Obviously, there's a lot of Georgia Bulldogs that are getting ready for the combine and things like that. Obviously, and looking at recent success as well, right? You look at the combine last year, right? I don't think people still might not comprehend just how impressive what Georgia did at the NFL combine last year, how impressive that was as a team effort. Ultimately, that was ridiculous. I don't see that being the same level as this year, but I still expect Georgia to have some combine freaks. I mean, that's just my thought. I think Jalen Carter could kill the workouts. I do. Who are
I think Keely Ringo will do very well in the combine. I mean, I really do. I think he'll perform well. He's fast. He's big. He's a physical guy. The only thing that's really going to hurt him is his hips.
Well, we're about to find out when those flip, the flip drills. I call them the flip drills, but when you're backpedaling, you flip your hips and then do it again. We're about to find out everything right there.
That's he's going to score low on that. But as far as straight ahead running, I think that his jumping ability and all of that, I mean, I think he's going to do very, very well.
I don't see why it wouldn't.
I think he blows away. I think he blows away the 40. I think his vert and his broad jumper, unbelievable. Yep. I think his measurables will be unbelievable. His wingspan, his arm length, his hand size, all those things. I mean, he's like 6'2". It's really big.
He's huge. Yeah. Now, my question though is this: Do y'all want to take and make a prediction right now? Let's make a prediction. Who do you think will run the fastest 40 time on Georgia? Let's collectively talk about this. Is it Keely?
Yes.
This year in the combine for Georgia, he'll be the fastest.
Who else is going to run fast? Kearis. Kearis won't run.
Kearis won't run that fast.
No, McClendon will not run that fast.
I mean, maybe Smith, but I don't think so. He just got a lot of closing speed, but I don't think he's got that straight line. No. So let's just say Keely at this point.
Keely might be one of the top 5 fastest runners at the combine this year.
He'll be in the top. Yeah, he'll
be hitting 25, hit 23.5 miles an hour.
Yeah. He can flat out fly.
And now you give him time to prepare and work on the 40, because y'all know this. Ultimately, I'm a fan of 100-meter, right? I love the 100-meter times. However, at the 40, everybody just glamours over it and just drills over it. If he runs, let's make a prediction. Juan, we'll start with you. What's your prediction to the 100th of a second on Keely Ringo's 40 time?
I mean, I'd say I'd give him a 4.32. I'd give him
4.32. Yep. What you think, Kobe?
Yeah, I like that general speed. 4.34, 4.32. Kind of just depends how well he gets out of the blocks. I mean, I think he accelerates. That video, he accelerates extremely well. He has long legs, a lot of leg drive, a lot of power. I don't know if he's quite. I don't think he quite dips into 4.2 speed. If he does, he got burned a couple times in his career here. If he's a 4.2 guy, he needs to get his eyes in the right places more often.
I'll tell you what though, and I'm gonna. So you've got 4.32. Kobe, you've got what, 4.32, 4.31? What's your specific number?
Juan kind of stole mine, but
I mean, if you want 4.32, that's fine too. I mean,
I'll undercut Juan. I'll go 4.31.
I'm going 4.29 just on the fact that I think. Listen, we saw last year that field, a lot of guys were moving. That field,
we're talking official laser to laser there. Right?
Yeah, it's typically a slow. It's a slow field to run on. It's a nightmare. It's almost like running on like deep carpet.
Well, see, I was about to say, which in my opinion, when you saw a lot of these guys running 4.2s last year, in theory, if they're running on natural grass, is that in the 4.1s?
No.
I mean, like, it's still like cutting. Like, it's probably taken.
No. If it's natural grass, those guys are probably running like maybe 4.4s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Turf is much faster.
I got you. Okay. So obviously y'all did this. I never played on turf, so I had no clue.
If you're on a 4.1, you're not playing football.
No.
You're doing something else.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to hear about that.
You're like racing intergalactically.
I'm gonna.
I don't even
relays.
I don't even know if Bolt could run anything near a 4.1.
That'd be nuts.
Yeah. That's gonna be tough. It takes him a while to get going.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a 4.1, you're talking about you're running 10 yards a second at that point.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, I think I'm gonna make my prediction. I'm gonna go 4.29 just for the sake of it, because I feel like what I saw in the Peach Bowl was one play that really stood out to me. Was he blitzes and then turns around and comes from behind and forces the fumble. That play stood out to me a lot. It really does. Like you just saw the pure speed. You just saw him come in. Boop. I was like, oh shit. But no, I'm going. So
I think some other guys, like I think Jalen will run
he'll
fairly fast.
freak some people out. I think Jalen's going to be the freak of the draft, like from a Georgia perspective.
But I think otherwise, like I don't think Chris is going to be like the fastest safety. I don't think he'll have the best vertical. I don't think he'll have any of that. I think he'll be very good.
Yeah.
Robert Beal, his measurables will be pretty good. I mean, he was a 5-star athlete. Measurables are going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to blow anybody away with any speed. I don't think Kearis is going to blow anybody away with any speed.
Nolan Smith.
Will he be able? Will he be able to though? Like, is he? He'll be able to.
He'll be able to run in the combine for sure.
I was worried about his shoulder and being able to affect his running.
In October, he should be.
Yeah, 100%. I don't see Darnell blazing the.
I'll be honest. I can see Darnell not running it.
Yeah,
I can see Darnell straight up saying like, "I'm not putting an official laser time on paper if he's worried he's going to run slow."
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he practices on it a few times and kind of gets a feel for it. I mean, the way I look at it, there was like, what does an NFL scout do with that? Like, obviously, like we know as a tight end, he's both. He's a hybrid. He can block it, elite blocking, basically adding an extra lineman, but also the ability to run out and catch. Right? It's like, maybe is it depending on the team that he gets drafted?
I don't know, but I'm shocked that they have him in the first round. I mean, I feel like he'll be one of those guys that'll go to the NFL and just kind of die to blocking, be more of a blocker. I don't see him being a George Kittle's. I don't see him being a Kelsey. He's just not that type of – he does not have that type of athleticism. I mean, he's big. He's strong. I mean, he is agile, but, where they're playing at is just a completely different level.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and ultimately this is – like I said, I think it's ultimately dependent upon what team drafts him because if you get him the right quarterback – he could be a red zone nightmare. He could be, right? But at the same time, like there's a
but you had Monken, who is probably the greatest tight end, play caller, and didn't really use him like he should have. I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't have treated him like Gronk and then just jump balled him to death and there's a reason why for whatever reason we don't know. But you would think that a tight end that big and that physical. And that agile would have been used a lot more versus versus Brock Bowers.
Well, you just hate to say like, and I don't know that well, but obviously like he's almost too big.
Yeah,
like 275, 280 is almost too big.
Yeah,
like you can only run so fast being that big. 6'7.5", 280. You're not going anywhere overly quickly.
No. And I think look at the new standard too. You got Kyle Pittman, who from Florida last year, which is probably Black Adonis probably has a tattoo on his back of Kyle Pittman. But it's just
tramp stamp later tattoo.
Yeah, definitely a tramp stamp. But he's just a different breed, and so unfortunately, he just doesn't fit that mold. He's just a really big, bruising, left tackle that can catch.
And I think if you get him out in like the seam. 10, 15 yards down the field, I think that you can throw it to him like that. But I think the biggest problem in the red zone is he doesn't have that quick step, that quick move, that little bit of separation you need to give room for that jump ball. I think he just kind of, is out there and he is covered almost immediately, almost like at least here, a big distraction almost.
Yep.
You run him out and it looks good. Oh, and then you throw it to Bowers behind him, and Bowers the one that scored. But everybody was looking at Darnell, but Bowers the one that's getting it.
Think about this. Like with the 49ers, when you look at some of these NFL teams, right? There's been several teams that have used the screen game with a lot of success. If you get him as a tight end, you can add him on the line and do similar things to what Todd Monken did with him here at Georgia, and he will give your team a lot of value at that point. So, ultimately, The question is he going to be first? Is he going to be second? Right? Let's just be honest. I would love to see him in the first round, but I feel like he might go second.
Yeah, a lot of people have him slated for first round, though. I mean,
and listen, I'm not. I understand why.
Like you said, I would love to see him go first. I just don't think that he warrants a first, just a first round pick. The other guys, but him.
We will see, obviously, right? Like a lot of these guys, we're going to find out.
Yeah, the hard thing is, like always, NFL guys, they put a lot of value on body types.
Yep.
More than anything. I mean, they see him show up, they see 6'7", they see, he goes out and he bench presses 225, 28 times as a tight end or something like that. People are going to look around and go, if in doubt, I'll put 30 pounds on this guy and make him right tackle.
Yep.
And he could
have to.
Like the thing about it is, like, if you watch his blocking, it's like he likes the contact. Like, he loves to block. It's like it seems that way. But when you think about it, though, right? Like, if you put him at 310 at 6'8", he'll still be super athletic. He'll be one of the more athletic tight ends based off of that right there. In theory, right? If it's good weight, you're going to sit there and do that, and it makes it shit scary. Right, because when you look at the tackles that we had, right, with last year, like Jamari Sawyer was a perfect example. Dude, Jamari Sawyer gets drafted to the Chargers in the 6th round, right? I think it was 6th round, and then goes on to have one of the best rookie seasons by a tackle in what feels like a while. Like saved the Chargers' ass for a while all season. Like, so you look at these things, and there's a lot of potential. Right, like Warren McClendon. I don't see him being a top. He might be a day 2 guy, maybe day 3, but I feel like he's one of these guys that will ultimately be consistent. Because, like, when it comes to offensive line, if your name's not being called, sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, you could best believe. So for McClendon and Darnell and everybody that's going to be there, they're going to be very, very well prepared. They're going to be physically ready to contribute as rookies. I mean, you sit there and look at Cook. Cook played a huge part.
Buffalo, yeah.
He played a huge part, this year. And again, you've got
George Pickens.
You got Jordan. Look at Pickens. You got Jordan Davis. You got all of these guys that came in there and made huge impact because they were ready. The weight program and everything that they've got going on is it's pretty good.
Pat asked a good question. Do we have? Well, obviously, we're thinking way ahead of ourselves. I think it'll be good to as this question. We might want to come back on this question later, but we'll talk about it now. As of right now, do we have a Nakobe Dean situation this year in that someone will be drafted way later than they should? I'm thinking about that.
I'd say McClendon.
I think McClendon has shown himself to be a very viable right tackle. I don't see him being as athletic enough to be. I don't see that happening, right? I don't see him moving over to a left tackle. I think you could see him slide in a guard or play the right tackle. Ultimately, I'm curious to see where Broderick Jones goes because if he falls, I think the kid can be a top 10 pick. I think he's arguably OT1 in this draft. Obviously, like I said, this is way too early because we haven't saw the combine. We haven't saw any of these things. But just based off of the tape, looking at his athleticism, what he did in big game, right, I'm just seeing OT1 potential. I know you got Paris Johnson there. I know you've got some other guys. There's a true argument for him being OT1, especially. And I think he will be the first offensive tackle taken off the board.
Yeah,
I might be wrong, but
I think he'll be. I think they'll jump up and grab him. He'll be in the first round for sure.
No, I think he will be. I mean, if he falls though, let's be honest. If he falls, that's a steal.
Yeah.
Outside of that though, I think
the hard thing is like we're talking about, Darnell. I think Darnell won't make it past the first 2 rounds purely off of just his frame and build. I mean, I don't really see that happening. So I guess you could say if he falls to the 3rd, that would be an interesting fall. I don't think we have anybody the caliber of player Nakobe Dean was last year, where basically he was most people's like inside linebacker 1 or inside linebacker 2. Like, we
Yeah.
don't have that kind of player that I think is going to all of a sudden look up and it's the 3rd round. I mean, you're talking about, like you're saying, that's like Broderick Jones looking up and it's the 3rd round. I mean, there's a guy that people had the Eagles taking this guy at 11 last year and ended up, or whoever was picking at 11, I don't think it was the Eagles, but he ends up falling all the way to the 3rd round on some.
I think it was the Commanders at that point. I think Washington.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think you've seen a fall quite like that in a long time, and I don't think you'll see one, especially not with one of our players again anytime soon.
But I bet you he's not mad right now. You know, they're playing in the Super Bowl. You know, just think about it. There are people who play their entire careers and never have an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl.
I mean, you're not wrong. I think let's ask this one question as well. Who do you think from this draft class upcoming will be the most undervalued in the sense that they get drafted late but could produce the most value for their team? Do y'all have anybody in mind specifically with that?
Considering I've seen that Nolan has some 1st-round grades, I would say probably not, actually, because I would say, like, if you got Nolan in, like, the late 2nd, early 3rd, you probably got a guy that is going to be pretty good for your team, good for your locker room, good for your culture. But, I mean, you get him in the 1st round, I don't think he can add more value or be a steal just by being a 1st-round pick.
Yeah.
So I think Chris Smith, man. I really do. We haven't really heard of, like, I think like a day 2 guy maybe, right? I think so. But I think what he can provide at the safety position, or, you know, I don't know if he plays as a nickel guy or, you know, maybe a dime guy. Don't really know. But what you do know is the value that he provides with run support. Like, and that to me is key. But I think that, you know, this is why I think you'll see him not be in the 1st round, maybe not even the 2nd round. I think he's gonna perform his way into a higher round. I just hope that the right team gets him and understands how to use him, because if you do, you have a dog on your team at that point.
Yeah, give me McIntosh. I would say McIntosh.
Very versatile. Yes.
Yeah.
Cody, raise your hand.
Right now, that, like, you're going the way of that back that can catch out of the backfield. I mean, look at McKinnon for Kansas City. I mean, he scored a big, huge touchdown coming out of the backfield, running like a little swing route. And so that's the bigger thing. Unfortunately for Dallas, you know, when they lost their main running back, you know, who can catch out of the backfield, Elliott is not catching out of the backfield. So he's one-dimensional. And people don't realize how important that is for not only for you to chip somebody, but then be able to, you know, leak out into and then make a huge play.
Oh, yeah.
That could be devastating to a defense.
Hey, I just want to bring something up real fast. Kobe, I saw you raise your hand, but I want to bring this statistic up, and then I'm going to let you go. There was a statistic, and I'm going to shout out the guy, Christian Gokel, said that basically looking at sacks allowed by Georgia's starting left tackle. In 2021, Jamari Sawyer gave up 0 sacks. In 2022, Broderick Jones gave up 0 sacks all year. I'm just saying.
That's playing against some really, really good teams. So
OT1.
I mean, these are trash teams. These are, you know,
That's
you're talking about 15 games.
You're talking about 30 games in that amount of time. That's Will Anderson twice. That's Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojobu once. That's everybody that Ohio State
Zach
has.
Harrison. Jack Sawyer. That's them.
DJ Ojolari for LSU one time.
Harold Perkins
one time. That's I don't know, TCU. A lot of people were hype on there.
Javon Dexter several times. Florida man's favorite team right there. Adonis. Oh, Brenton Cox, 0 sacks allowed. Just gonna leave that there. I thought that was fun. Kobe, you had raised your hand earlier. Were you able to get that point across? Go ahead for it.
Yeah, Juan. I had a question for you actually. Were you? Let's see when it was. Were you there in the fall of '94 still?
Yes.
So it's come up, I guess, with the Super Bowl. The Tennessee-Georgia game in the fall of '94 remains the only college football game in college football history to have at least 3 eventual Super Bowl MVPs play in the game: Terrell Davis, Hines Ward, and Peyton Manning.
Yep. Well, actually, Peyton Manning didn't play in that 94 game. It was, you know who the quarterback was? Todd Helton.
Yeah, the baseball player.
Yeah.
It said on roster, but yeah.
Okay, on roster. Yeah.
It said on roster.
Yeah. So Todd Helton was the quarterback, which is just so fun. But
crazy
he will be a Hall of Famer, you know. So but that's crazy. Yeah. So essentially you'll have 3 Hall of Famers on that
nuts
in that game.
It's crazy.
Timothy Jones says, I hope he will. I want to thank him for everything. We'll follow you in the NFL. Go Dogs. I'm thinking Broderick, maybe. Let me know who you're talking about, Timothy, and we'll confirm. Listen, guys. Obviously, you start the combine like late February, early March, I think, and then you go through the team interviews and stuff like that.
It'll be after spring break. So Georgia spring breaks March 6th to the 10th or something like that. So combine and pro days will start slowly after that, I think.
All right. Man, I'm looking forward to this combine. For some reason, I just like seeing it. It's like a spectacle, but at the same time, you know, for me, I don't know if y'all have any memories of watching last year's combine, but to me, the most remarkable thing was Jordan Davis's 40, but it wasn't the 40 time. It was the process of which it became, because I was watching it. And if you're familiar with linemen, right, Kobe, I think you might know what I'm talking about. That 10-yard split is more important sometimes than the actual 40-yard time. And when he popped that 1.68, I think it was, I was like, uh-oh. And then he hit the unofficial 4.78, and I was like, oh my God. Or like 4.81 or some shit like that. When I saw that 1.68, I was like, oh my. Oh my. But I'm not going to compare. Like, it's so hard to look at anything moving forward. Well, for now, like this year, I don't think it will compare. It will not compare to last year, because we had so many guys just dominate the combine. Jordan Davis with the fastest 40 by God, 340 pounds. Trayvon Walker and Quay Walker, all those guys. It was just stupid fast. Dominated the combine, all the events. It was just nuts. And it was literally 3 days of Georgia propaganda, and I'm here for that.
And I think this year, if you're a Georgia fan, enjoy when your guys are running. I know me personally, when I watch combine, I enjoy to watch. I really enjoy to watch other teams' guys, because I've seen N'Kobe run, I've seen Jordan Davis. I know Jordan Davis can run 22 miles an hour. It's fun to watch on a national stage, but I like seeing the guy from Oregon, who people are talking about is going to be a top 10 overall pick at cornerback. Where was he week 1 playing the Dogs? Because I didn't see him anywhere out there playing cornerback. You know what I mean? Those are the guys. Those are the guys to me that are fun to watch and see. Okay, where are these hidden guys that maybe you saw them play during the year and they didn't have a good game or whatever? But it's kind of skipped this year. But this time next year, NFL Combine, you're going to be suiting up to have another 2021 style combine. Arian Smith, both the inside linebackers, 3 of the linemen. I mean,
just wait until Raylan Wilson and those guys. Because if Raylan Wilson already ran 23 miles an hour before he even got into the strength and conditioning program. Give him 3 years and let him run at fucking 40. It's going to be ridiculous. Guys, any final words on this? Obviously, we talked about Jalen Carter. We gave our thoughts on that. Ultimately, we all understand it's subjective and dependent. But I think if Chicago's there and they stay pat on number 1, I see him going. I see him going there. But at the same time, Kobe, you know this. Chicago has to replace Roquan Smith, the highest paid linebacker right? So it wouldn't surprise me either if they picked Will Anderson to try to replicate some of that. But that's my thoughts. Any final words before we wrap this show up, guys? Nothing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
No words? Guys, listen, we talked about the combine. Also, remember, we also have Georgia Pro Day as well. I think that will be fun to watch. I guarantee you 32 teams are going to be represented as they should be. But with that being said, make sure to follow, or like and subscribe, right? Go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, at the DGD Podcast. Check out Apotheos, dgdpodcast.com/Apotheos. Don't forget. Guys, with that being said, come in Wednesday. I think we got the Super Bowl coming up this week. So I think we're going to do a little bit of a Super Bowl preview, maybe. We'll confirm that, but stay tuned on that.
Dogs in the Super Bowl.
22 straight years. I think that'll be something worth noting there.
Yes,
with that being said, though, guys, have a great day. Brigade, as always, coming in hot and heavy throughout the show. Thank you for all your support. And make sure to like and subscribe here. We're on the road to 3,000 YouTube subscribers, folks. So make sure you like it and subscribe. Ring that bell, by the way. Get you notified when we're live. And other than that, though, guys, let's have a great day.
Go Dogs.
Run, Juan, run. I'm gonna leave it up. There you go, folks. If you're watching this, you'll understand. With that being said, have a great day. We'll see y'all next time. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.